Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here to talk about a fascinating fight at 154 between champion Miguel Cotto and challenger Ricardo Mayorga. Now, before I go further, let me say the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. The odds I've seen are Miguel Cotto minus 1200. In other words, he's a 12 to 1 favorite to win the fight. What that means is that if they fought 13 times, then the casinos believe, or at least they've priced it this way, that Cotto wins 12 of the 13. Now, let me just ask a few questions. Do you really feel that anyone in boxing wins 12 of 13 against a fighter who beat Vernon Forrest twice? In fact, the first one was a knockout. The second one was actually by decision. Do you believe that Cotto beats a guy 12 times out of 13 who went the distance against prime Corey Spinks in about 2003? And one judge, of course, had it a draw. A second judge had the fight 114-112 for Corey Spinks. Right? Do you feel that any fighter at 154 would beat an opponent who fought Fernando Vargas at 164 and actually knocked him down in the 11th round on his way to a decision victory? An opponent who fought European junior middleweight champion Michel Picarillo, knocked him down 3 times in the fight, and actually won the decision in the fight. An opponent who, at the time of his knockout, he got knocked out by Shane Mosley in the 12th round, was actually ahead on one of the judges' scorecards. In fact, I saw the fight as it was happening. I had Ricardo Mayorga ahead in that fight after 10 rounds. Now, I understand the math says that Miguel Cotto should win this fight, right? If you want to know what Emmanuel Stewart, Cotto's trainer, truly thinks about Ricardo Mayorga, you actually have his uncensored views on the HBO telecast. And it's the HBO telecast of Mayorga against Oscar De La Hoya. And you're going to hear a disgusted Emmanuel Stewart say that technically Mayorga is an amateur, right? Because Ricardo Mayorga doesn't move his head, has very bad head movement, doesn't really seem to guard against body shots, doesn't have good foot movement. Great foot movement is where you cannot tell if the fighter is going to throw a right hand or a left hand, right? He doesn't telegraph punches. He looks like he has weight on both legs, right? Also, good foot movement is where the fighter is able to move around the ring without crossing his legs. Because if he crosses his legs and he gets hit at that moment, he's going to fall down. If you see a Ricardo Mayorga fight, he's breaking all of these rules, right? In fact, good punching is direct punching, where it's a quick punch and it's direct. It gets there faster, right? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. You're going to see Ricardo Mayorga, of course, throwing looping punches. And, of course, on multiple occasions. You know, what they tell you is to make the other guy miss on defense. You're going to see Ricardo Mayorga in the rematch, for example, with Vernon Forrest, literally dare Forrest to hit him and then stick his chin out and take Forrest's best punches. Well, all I'm saying is this. I understand that technically Mayorga looks like a nightmare. I understand he seems to be the fighter of choice for fighters coming back from layoffs, right? Felix Tito Trinidad picked him after a layoff. Oscar De La Hoya picked him after a layoff. And of course, he seems to be the choice of fighters who throw good left hooks. Trinidad hammered him with a great left hook. So did Oscar De La Hoya, right? And I understand that Miguel Cotto, and again, we're just talking the math, just looking at what works and what doesn't, who has what asset, who has what liability. The math greatly favors Miguel Cotto. Cotto throws a devastating left hook up top. Cotto also throws a devastating left hook to the body. Look at the body work he put in on Carlos Quintana. Now, all of that said, my point to you is simply looking at Ricardo Mayorga's resume, and I understand he's only fought once in the last, 2+ years, and he did not look impressive in that fight. But all of that said, Ricardo Mayorga is an enigma. Who else in history has beaten Vernon Forrest twice as a professional? Right? All I'm saying is, Fernando Vargas, not a bad boxer. Fernando Vargas actually lost a decision to Mayorga. Also, how could Mayorga, against a pure boxer like Corey Spinks, even be competitive if he was that bad? Not only that, we know that Cotto, in my opinion, mentally broke down during his fight against Ricardo Mayorga. The first 6 rounds, Cotto's coming forward, Cotto's throwing combinations, Cotto's looking fluid. You tell me what happened the last few rounds of that fight. Cotto started backing up. Cotto looked beaten. Cotto took a knee at one point in that fight. Cotto seemed to mentally acknowledge that he was going down in that fight, right? Whether or not Antonio Margarito had loaded gloves in that fight, and I don't know, right? The point is whether or not that fight left residual damage on Miguel Cotto going forward. And all I'm saying is, I thought I saw Cotto again mentally switch into defensive mode against Joshua Clottey. I thought in the Pacquiao fight there was a time where after Pacquiao knocked him down 2 times, I thought Cotto was simply trying to survive in that fight. He wasn't trying to win. Cotto at 154 is still an open mystery. He fought Yuri Foreman. Even Yuri Foreman fans would tell you Yuri wasn't a knockout puncher going into that fight. And then that fight, Cotto, he won the fight. Understand, Wally Matthews, a very respected boxing reporter, had that fight even at the time of the unbuckling of Foreman's knee. I'm not sure if that fight against a mover, a guy who's outside practically jogging around the ring, I'm not sure whether that fight against a mover has a lot of relevance against a guy like Ricardo Mayorga, who eventually is going to come inside and is going to come inside with roughhouse hooks and punches that have power, the kind of power that has given him over his career a 60% knockout ratio. So what I'm suggesting here is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. The timid need to just hit the stop on this tape right now. What I'm suggesting here is that your base bet B, forget the 12-to-1 odds, that's not a worthy enough risk reward to risk your hard earned money. I believe your base bet needs to be Cotto by knockout, right? Cotto has such an advantage in terms of hand speed and the punches he throws, right? Left hooks to a guy who's going to be practically defenseless, that if he is the Miguel Cotto who took out Carlos Quintana, if his power translates at 154, he should stop Ricardo Mayorga. If he doesn't stop Ricardo Mayorga relatively early in this fight, and let's say in the first half of the fight, in the first 6 rounds, then I believe we're in Wonderland. Then I believe that Cotto will start to panic And I believe that at that point, Mayorga, a 6-1 underdog, is going to have a real shot. I think the straddle in this fight has to be Ricardo Mayorga simply to win. Understand, the straddle here is pretty easy to do because you're getting 6-1 odds on Ricardo Mayorga to win the fight. By the way, because Mayorga has had success in going the distance against fighters like Forrest, Picarillo, Vargas, I do believe there is a possibility that Ricardo Mayorga wins this fight by decision. I also believe there is a possibility that Ricardo Mayorga wins this fight by stoppage. That's why I believe the straddle has to be Cotto by knockout, straddled against Ricardo Mayorga to win the fight. The outcome I'm eliminating, Cotto by decision, is a risky one to eliminate because Cotto clearly has the superior boxing skills. Logic would dictate that he has a chance to win the fight by decision. I just don't see it happening. I believe it's all or nothing for Cotto. Either he gets the early knockout here or he gets walked down. Let me know what you think. I understand I'm a little outside the box on this one. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me at gamblersadvisory.com and win, lose, or draw. I hope you come back after the fight and leave your comments for me on the fight. Mayorga is very dangerous. Let me also add this too. If Mayorga at 37 is just here for a payday, right? If he doesn't have aspirations of actually getting back into the championship mix, and after a subpar one fight, right? Keep in mind he's been fighting less than once a year. After a subpar recent fight, his only fight in 2010 is simply in the fight to pick up a payday at 154. Then he will get knocked out because Miguel Cotto is serious. He means business. But if Margarito comes into the ring and senses the opportunity and realizes that he might have a scarred opponent in front of him, then anything is possible. Then this fight shouldn't be 12-1 Cotto. This fight should actually be considered much closer to a toss-up. So I think this is a must-watch fight, if for no other reason than to see the state of mind that Miguel Cotto brings into the ring. I like Cotto by knockout straddled against Mayorga to win. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching the video.